All right, here we go. Today I'm going to talk kind of as not as a writer per se, but I want to talk about. I'm going to talk as a thinker, right? As a speculator. Before I'm a writer, before I'm a filmmaker, before I'm a comic book person, story creator, I'm a speculator, and that's why they call it speculative fiction. So one of the things that I speculate about, and it probably is an underlying theme in many of my futuristic stories, is where do civilizations of black people fit in the greater importance of the history of Earth, right, and humanity. One of the questions that I posed on, and this is a philosophical question or whatever you want to call it, one of the questions that I posed on social media was, do you think society is getting better or worse? More intelligent, or less intelligent, whatever factors you want to use, and kind of left it very open-ended. But I want to get into a little bit more deeper with that, and why do I think it's important? I'll start with kind of why I think it's important, and then we'll get into my answer and various other answers. Why do I think it's important? Because I think when you're writing your stories, you do have a level of respect and disrespect that comes with, it's very hard to be neutral, that comes with your writing of futurism and historical time periods. Contemporary stories, not so much. But when you're writing about the past or you're writing about the future, you can either romanticize about the future, or you can, which they probably call it utopian future, or you could feel negative about the future and write what they call dystopian future. Regardless of where you think we're at right now, do you think the world is going to get better or not? And then there's ways to write about the past. Like, do you romanticize about the past? Examples of that are, do you make things in the past seem better than they probably actually were, right? Or do you make them seem worse than they actually were, which is all speculative, because unless you're writing a documentary, and even with documentaries, there's a calculated error, especially when you're going really far in the past. But when people write about the medieval times and pre-Black Plague period, or even heck, the Black Plague, and people have good hygiene, especially in the Western world, where they did have a medieval time of note, a noteworthy medieval time, that they had hygiene, and that was one of the things that almost destroyed that civilization or that time period, was their hygiene, right? They call it the Black Plague, but it was, bathing, it was disposing of spoiled and rotten food, cleaning up and putting food away. All of that stuff was part of how they got their Black Plague. Good book you can get is this book called Dirt by McLaughlin. I think that's his name. But it is Dirt, not to be confused with all the other books that are called Dirt, but this one called Dirt, Understanding European Hygiene. And if you put hygiene in there, you'll get the right book. That book, Terrence something is the author's name. But anyway, so that's kind of what it is, right? Do you think we're getting better? Do you think we were worse? Do you think we were worse? We were better, and are we getting worse? All of those different things. So for me, as a Afrofuturist, what is unique about me, because I think this even varies within the Afrofuturist community, is that I defend first world people, right? When I say first world, it's using the same economic standards that they used to say with third world, right? I just reverse it because I believe that the worlds that came first were those of the higher technology, or not technology in the sense of physical technology, higher human ability, higher human civilization. I think the world that we are in now is a very fundamental world where it is making progress, and it may get to a higher level of behavior, but because it relies so much on the physical and the tangible that it doesn't value anything spiritual and I don't know how to say untangible, because we're not going to go, I would have to Google it, but whatever's not tangible, whatever you don't see. And that to me is a hindrance because we need to physically quantify and qualify everything, and belief and will are not tangible or valued as much in this world. So for me, I see us as devolving, not evolving, or coming out of a low period, and hopefully we'll get back to where we once were. So how does that manifest, right? How do I manifest that? I don't believe that all of the science that we have now are actually finding the best things for us as humans to do. I don't believe that we need to necessarily butcher ourselves to heal ourselves. I think there's a knowledge of the body's ability to heal itself that we once had that we don't have anymore. Yes, that's a slant on doctors, no doubt. If you're limiting yourself to just what we're doing now, and you don't have appreciation for what was happening before, then sure, we're going to be at odds, right? But for me, I don't see it that way, right? Paved roads, sports, television, whatever else that we feel that we can't live without, that we look forward to having improvements on, to me is a element of a lower form of human engagement, because we need to have these things. Whereas civilizations that did not have these things did not necessarily need them either, because you create what you need, right? And need drives creation. So, yes, the Western world now dominates the globe because its level of growth, and I'm not really going to get into that because it wasn't that they seduced or proposed these developments to the rest of the world. It's the same way they're doing it to the people in the Amazon. They are burning them down and taking their space. So how did this modern world expand to become a global thing? It's not because it was it was given a choice, an intelligent choice. It wasn't out of intelligence that it got there. It got there out of physical dominance and brutality. So that isn't always the best, right? Everybody say, "Oh, Jeff, there's roads and streets everywhere," and I'm saying, well, why are they there? Right? How did they get there? Did the people in the Amazon and the Aborigines, the different tribes, say, you know what, that is a better creation, let's use it? Or were they killed off and replaced? And the latter is the truth, or the truer. So then when I look at all the other things that were destroyed and all the other things that replaced it, like this world of modern dating, male-female relations, Am I going to prove that there's a better airplane? No, because the need for an airplane came out of this modern society. But I will be able to compare reproduction and human interaction things, because those are essential. So do we know how to interact as a global community, as a culture, or as a society of, let's just look at America, right? If America kind of represents where the world is going, maybe China does, but definitely America is one of those societies that are capable of influencing the world, specifically with our cultural creations, our philosophy of freedom, all of those different things, all the things that we have that we boast about, right? Multiculturalism, all those cool things, right? But at the core, we have a problem with our male-female relations. We have a problem with our mother and father and child bonding, right? We are all over the place with that. And I think regardless of what the purpose of it is, regardless of whether the structure is right or wrong, whether we should have more than one father in the house, more than one mother in the house, whether gender and alphabet community is correct or not, we aren't on a consensus. And we are in turmoil because of our confusion regarding it, resulting in what I don't think is humanly intelligent, group of orphan children that don't necessarily have parents that are alive and able to take care of them. Then we have high divorce rates, right? Then we have just a whole bunch of other problematic things in our culture to just interrelate with each other. So that's, to me, I fault society for that. Of course, I faulted for medicine. And then there's the speculative things, right? I think we are ignorant about our celestial place. So I'm just going to go spiritual on this last one, right? I think we are ignorant about our celestial place, our place in our relationship to the sun, moon, and stars. One of the things that give me an example of that, or I like to use it as an example of that, is how we plan to get to the sun, moon, and stars. We want to build a ship and fire it and send our physical bodies out into the cosmos, right? And that's how we feel as a modern society, right? A westernized modern society, that we need to do that. And I speculate on that being the best way or the most intelligent way to do that. I think we devalue spiritual elements of our being that would probably allow for us to explore things and experience things outside of our physical bodies that would possibly allow us to travel to other places and be in other places, or be in places around the cosmos, right? So to me, right, we aren't making progress. We're moving still towards the negative. And I think eventually we'll get back to a place where it was what we call simpler, but it may be even more complicated and complex and of a higher nature in terms of its scope, in terms of its understanding of the human body, its understanding of nature and the world and how it relates to it, its understanding of how we relate to each other, and its understanding of how the spirit and all of that interacts and engages. So to me, like, all of those questions and the answers of them are unique to my stories. They drive my futurism. They drive my speculation. They drive my ideas and thoughts and all of my stories. And I think it is important just to hear that, and question that. Now, maybe these will be questions I'll have to answer in a more specific way in an interview, but I just think it's important on answering that question. Do you think humanity is getting better or worse? And that's it. Talk to you later.